Well, Justin, it is great to have you here in the ECFA studio today. We just got done recording a webinar on demystifying blockchain and cryptocurrency. That's something we're hearing more and more people talking about. Tell us a little bit about your personal journey, how you got started into this, and what are some opportunities that are out there for churches and ministries as they think about cryptocurrency and even contributions that might be coming in that way?
Sure. So I started a few years back, just interested in learning about the new technologies coming along, and saw, blockchain could have an immediate impact on nonprofits, and learning more about that, learned that cryptocurrency was that impact it could have immediately, and so then I wanted to figure out, well, okay, how can my nonprofit benefit from cryptocurrency? And so then it just was a matter of looking into ways to see how could it be donated, and what the church needed to do to handle it, what are the rules and tax and legal rules that you need to follow, and just kind of built it from there.
Good. Well, and I know as you and I have talked, this journey for you began a couple years ago, and you've learned a lot since then, but it's an ongoing learning process. We're all kind of learning and figuring all this out as we go. But speaking of some of those opportunities, I think for a lot of organizations, they may not even realize, that there are folks out there that have these assets and they want to be generous towards Christian ministries. But if our ministries aren't set up to be able to receive some of these gifts, we're creating a barrier to some of that generosity. So yeah, tell us just a little bit about some of the stories that you've even heard of once organizations got set up, some of the generosity that they saw.
Sure. Yeah. So if you don't have a way to receive it, then people are not going to give it to you. And so once people have gotten set up, then we've seen gifts of all sizes from people of all ages. So, a $10 million gift from someone who's 70 and are in their 70s, and a $1 million gift from someone who's in their 80s, all the way down to people in their 20s. These are gifts that are out there. We're seeing a large segment of the U.S. population is interested in Bitcoin, and there's a large group that is holding cryptocurrency in Bitcoin, and so it's out there, and they want to donate it, but not all organizations can accept it, and if you don't have the technology piece in place, then you can't receive that donation.
Right, and I think as I've talked with a lot of even financial officers, business officers, folks in operations at ministry, they may be interested in going down this road, but it feels a little bit overwhelming because this is so much. I mean, even as you were sharing some new terminology and things we're not familiar with. So it's a little overwhelming. We maybe don't even know where to start. What would you say to that person in terms of where should they go to look for potential partners who could help receive some of these assets? Is it a process we should be scared of? Like, what does it look like? Can you help unpack it for us?
Sure. So just in general, to receive a crypto donation is actually very simple if you get set up with a crypto donation platform.
Okay.
There's not a whole lot around it that you need to really be concerned about, because what that platform is going to do is it's going to receive the crypto on your behalf. It'll liquidate the crypto automatically and just send you an ACH to your organization. So that's the simplest way to do it. Now, and from speaking from personal experience, I've looked at receiving it manually, setting up my own wallet, or doing it through an exchange like Coinbase. And those really are not good ways to do it for a nonprofit organization. So find a platform, just get set up. That's the easiest route. And then if you want to build upon that, like we've talked about, maybe holding or developing some type of investment strategy for your organization, do that secondary. First, just do the simple step of setting up with the platform. Like we've talked about different platforms, and Given's the one that Liberty uses. There's the Giving Block, there's BitDonate, there's others out there. But I would recommend organizations stay away from manual wallets or exchange wallets, and go with the crypto platform. It's the easiest route.
Got it. And give us a sense of what that timeline looks like, or what we should have ready whenever we go to reach out to a potential platform. What does the process look like, and what can we be expecting?
Sure. So so once you've narrowed down the platform you want, then when you sign up with them, there's going to be a process that's called a KYC process, know your customer. They're going to want to verify your identity because they've got rules to follow to ensure you are who you say you are. And then the verification process is what takes the longest, and it doesn't need to take that long, but right now there's a large amount of signups for these platforms because everybody wants to accept it or accept crypto donations. And so right now the wait time is mainly due to the backlog of verifying all these people because there's so many people in the queue. So I'd say if you want to accept crypto donations, just go and get it set up. The actual process is quick. It's just more of waiting to get through the verification, but go ahead and get in line so you can be ready by year end. Because if you wait until November-ish or early December, you're probably not gonna be able to do it until after first of the year. You won't be approved until after first of the year.
Right. So it takes a little bit of lead time, like anything else, and some planning, intentionality, and so forth. One of the things that we've talked about is, there is some guidance as it relates to the tax implications of all of this, and from an organizational perspective, from a donor's perspective. In the eyes of the IRS, tell us a little bit, how are they defining what some of these contributions are in terms of Bitcoin and other types of cryptocurrency? What are some of the areas organizations need to be knowledgeable about? Let's assume that they have that platform and are set up and they have received a contribution in this way. How does the IRS look at that? What as ministries and churches do we need to be thinking of?
Great question. So the IRS views cryptocurrency, and it's a misnomer because it's got the word currency in there, but the IRS says, no, this is an asset. So this is non-cash
Gifted property. Yeah,
it's property. So it's not currency. It's not a security, even though it really, is treated like that. It's when you're doing your reporting, you got to treat it like non-cash property. So if somebody donates cryptocurrency and it's under $200 or it's $250, then you have to issue the non-cash donation receipt, just like you would any other property that was donated. Then when you go up to gift to $500, then you have to, the donor has to file a form 8283. And then for 5,000 and above, the donor has to file a form 8283 and get a qualified appraisal by a qualified appraiser. And the nonprofit has to sign that as well.
Okay. And then, I know you all are set up there at your church, Liberty Live, an ECFA accredited church. We're grateful for our partnership with you, but you all are set up there. You talk on a regular basis with other leaders of churches and ministries on a weekly basis. From a practical standpoint, one of the questions that I know would come up is, say at the end of the year, we have an organization that's received a gift of cryptocurrency, non-cash contribution. What does this look like on the annual giving statement that an organization would have as they're giving those out to either members of their congregation or givers?
So, for our organization, when somebody gives that donation, we're going to issue a gift acknowledgement then saying, okay, they gave this cryptocurrency at this time, but we're not going to specify value on it because it's a non-cash donation. So at the end of the year, at that time, we'll plug it into their record, basically a memo, because, what happens is, at the end of the year, they're going to call and say, well, I gave this, but I don't see it on my donation record. And then we have to have the conversation, we didn't assign a value because it's non-cash property. And so at the end of the year, they'll get their contribution statement, and it's got a total at the bottom. That total does not include the crypto donation, but there is a memo on there of what that crypto donation was, just so as a record, and it helps them see, okay, the church has acknowledged it, because they may have got the gift acknowledgement in May, but they want to see it on that annual statement.
Right. And once again, that's because it's considered in the eyes of the IRS as a gift of property, as opposed to a gift, like a monetary gift or,
yes.
And so forth. So that's why the distinction and the breakdown there. The other question that I was going to ask is, again, and from working with so many different folks that are out there, what are some of the common pitfalls that you see organizations running to in this area? Because as we've talked about, there's a lot of opportunity when it comes to gifts of cryptocurrency, but there's also a lot of potential, risk as well. So highlight for us just maybe a couple of the common pitfalls.
Sure. Well, first one is they try to, do it themselves and do it manually. And that comes with the risk of you got to be very precise in what you're doing with, where they send it, how you liquidate it. If you type in the wrong thing at the wrong place, it could be lost forever. So that's the initial one. Usually, like if you're set up on a platform, the platform is going to cover all those pieces. So, it's really when they try to do it manually is when people will tend to get stuck.
Good. So we've talked a lot from the organizational perspective or the ministry perspective, shifting now to the donor's perspective, or someone who may be holding on to some of these assets of cryptocurrency. What are some of the advantages from their perspective of being able to make these donations? And then a follow-up question that I want to ask is just about the valuation or potential benefit. I guess those things kind of go hand in hand, but maybe speak from a giver's perspective.
Sure. So, we've talked about, and you can see it in the news, how the price of Bitcoin has gone way up, or just all cryptos have pretty much gone way up since the beginning of the year. So people are sitting on assets that have increased significantly in value. So if they donate that asset, they get two benefits of: one, they can take charitable contribution deduction for the value of that donation. And then two, they avoid the capital gains on the increase in value of that asset. So by donating that property, not only do they get those tax benefits, but had they cashed it out and paid the tax, they would have ended up giving a smaller gift to the nonprofit than by donating that asset
right
before they had cashed it out. So the nonprofit gets the greater benefit.
So, Justin, one of the things, we focused a lot on is from an organization standpoint, the how-tos and why and all of this, but also from a giver's perspective, or maybe there's folks that are out there listening who hold some of these assets. What are some of the benefits that they might receive from making a gift of cryptocurrency? And also, there's some valuation questions that we should talk about as well. So I'll let you speak into that.
Sure. So for the valuation, if it's a small donation, you can look at an exchange pricing, and that's going to be okay. But for large donations, especially over $5,000, the IRS says, hey, you have to have a qualified appraisal by a qualified appraiser. Now, how are those appraisers going to find that donation, find that amount or that valuation? Is they're going to look at spot prices of a bunch of different exchanges. Similar to a home appraisal, where they're going to look at sales in the area of comparable homes. So for the IRS is not going to let you just go and pick your own valuation.
Sure.
They're going to require that you get that qualified appraisal, and that's the process they're going to follow. They're going to dig into it more deeply than you would.
Good. All right. Well, Justin, this has been really helpful. Again, some areas where we have some decent guidance. There's also some open questions, but we have been getting more and more questions, both from givers and from ECFA accredited nonprofit ministries, churches, and friends as well. So we just wanted to provide a little bit of guidance, and we know you've got some boots on the ground experience in this area. So thanks for all the expertise that you shared even today during this time, and also again on the webinar that we've recorded, which is a whole hour-long session on this topic. And so thanks again for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more finance, governance, and fundraising news and insights for your church or ministry.